Imagine that you are faced with an enemy you cannot defeat. Mongol tribes, descendants of the great Genghis Khan. Fast, ferocious, hungry, determined to take what they want and spare no one. This is the Great Wall of China as we know it today, dating back nearly 500 years to the time of the Ming Dynasty. But the surprising truth is that the Chinese have been building walls to protect themselves from the age-old threat of Mongol invaders for over 2,000 years. And not just around Beijing, but all across the north of China. Inside the military training academy, young officers are being schooled in martial arts. But they are about to learn a painful lesson from their real enemies. A few miles north, Mongol horsemen cross the border. Heading straight for Beijing is an invasion force, 100,000 strong. The outer suburbs of Beijing are quickly overrun, and every man in the city is mobilized for defense. But tens of thousands of Chinese already lie dead. Historian David Spindler has come to Beijing to try to discover just how the Mongols broke down the capital's defenses. For the last 15 years, he's traced every inch of the original fortifications, matching each section to historical accounts of the attack. The main defenses lay just 70 miles north of the capital. For centuries, they'd been thought adequate to withstand any threat. Now, David Spindler thinks he's worked out just what went wrong.
Early in the day on September 26, 1550, several thousand Mongols attacked the main river valley just to our east here at Gubeikao. That was really a typical Mongol maneuver. It was a diversionary feint. What the Mongolians did was they simply sent a small commando unit up this valley. Their purpose was to get behind the main group of Chinese defenders and, as it were, unlock the door and let the main Mongol force in.
All that stood in their way were narrow and weak defenses.
This is it. The only thing separating Mongolia and China. The Mongols came through here. Several hundred Mongols broke over this wall, picked it apart with picks and shovels. One raider later said that getting in here was as easy as walking into a room. And that's just what they did. They went over this ridge here, around back behind the Chinese defenders, routed them, and then thousands of Mongols poured into the Beijing suburbs. The Chinese casualties are very heavy. 60,000 Chinese killed, 40,000 taken prisoner, and hundreds of thousands of head of livestock were lost. We could call it the September 11th of this period of Ming history.
Not only have the fortifications proved inadequate to beat off the Mongol attack, the Imperial Army has crumbled too.
Where in all this madness is my army? Where are the soldiers who are supposed to be protecting the city? Where is the Minister for War? Because clearly we are in the middle of one.
We assume he's fighting the Mongols, Highness.
You assume? Go fight him!
In fact, the Minister of War has given up the fight. He's tracked down and faces the ultimate penalty. In China's National Archive, Professor Robin Yates examines the 40,000 pages of the Ming Dynasty's own records. They give a graphic account of the penalty for failing the emperor.
受欠有罪70. So, according to the Ming history, the Minister of War, Yang Shutian, was considered to have committed a crime and was cast away in the marketplace, which means that he was executed. So the Minister of War was the scapegoat for this debacle.
1 month after their devastating attack on Beijing, the Mongols have gone. They've made their point and have returned home to await the Chinese emperor's response. They remain ready to strike.
Wenguanda's fortifications to the northwest of Beijing form part of a much larger defense system, the 9 border garrisons. Strung out like beads on a chain, they run from the easternmost to the westernmost point of the Chinese Empire. The last outpost in the west is the fort of Jiayuguan. Jiayuguan means pass to the beautiful valley. Only the 5,500-meter peak of Mount Qilian stands higher than the powerful fortress. Close by, the first tower of the Ming Wall rises up, a lonely outpost on the edge of the steppe. In the south, the wall abruptly ends on the cliffs of the river Beida. On the other side of Jiayuguan Fort, the wall continues eastwards. Over the centuries, wind and weather have torn gaps in the wall. For here, it's not made of stone, but of rammed earth, a material used for buildings and walls in China since time immemorial. Sections of the wall run parallel to an older set of earth defenses built around the year 1000. When General Wenguanda's task is completed, the northwest of China is completely sealed off. The capital, Beijing, is protected by its own ring of walls. The Ordos, the northern region enclosed by a huge curve of the Yellow River. It has always been the gateway for the nomads into China. Here too, Though wind and weather have done their worst, the wall and its towers can still be made out on the crags above the river. The garrison forts were the outposts of this defensive outer wall. Today, their use is strictly non-military. Their 6-meter-thick earth walls provide shelter to the farmers' herds. But nearly 500 years ago, they faced their greatest military test. March 1549, Shuangfu. The Chinese are fighting off another Mongol raid. General Weng Wanda defends the city. The earth shakes as Altan Khan's army passes the fortress. Showdown at the Great Wall. The Chinese general signals an attack. Weng Wanda's tactics have blocked the Mongol retreat. Though battered, the wall is not beaten. The Mongol horsemen have suffered severe losses. What future now for Altan Khan? From the middle of his retreating hordes, he sends a message to the Chinese defenders. Is it an admission of defeat? Did this raid cost too much? But Altan Khan's message contains a naked threat. If trade is not allowed, his men will be in the streets of Beijing.
那么我们说呢，明朝长城呢，它固然是很坚固的，这一点是在历史上也是。
The Ming Dynasty's Great Wall still has the reputation of being impenetrable.
也是在历史。
Enormous sums were invested, and millions of people were recruited to build it.
从辽东，
The soldiers manning it were excellently trained, excellently
没有
equipped.
疑问的。但是长城的
And yet, the Mongols didn't give up.
固然用的很多，
Somewhere on such a long frontier, there had to be a place where they could break through.
全都攻击你一点。
That place would be the Gubeiku Pass, north of Beijing.
和可击利用的这么一个地段，古北口呢就是这样。
The Chinese don't expect an attack at the Gubeiku Pass. It's a forgotten corner of the mountains defended by a handful of troops. The gigantic fortifications so admired by Lord Macartney have not yet been built. The attack of the Mongolian forces is a complete surprise. It's almost too easy. The road to Beijing lies open. And Altan Khan keeps his promise. It's just 80 kilometers to Beijing. Officially, Beijing is defended by a force of 140,000 men. But less than half of these are actually under arms. General Weng's victory at the gates of the fort has made the Chinese complacent. At the sight of the advancing Mongol hordes, the defenders run. Altan Khan's men tear through the suburbs of Beijing, plundering and burning. For 3 days they advance. At last, even the emperor, deep inside the Forbidden City, can no longer ignore them. From within the walls of his ordered universe, Emperor Jiajing watches chaos overtake the outside world. There's nothing he can do. On September 30th, 1550, Altan Khan draws up his troops before the Anding Gate, the place where the Chinese traditionally hold their victory parades. He has reached his goal, the very heart of the empire. A prisoner of war is sent with a message to the emperor. Will it be a demand for his abdication? An ultimatum for the handover of the city? Does Altan want control of the whole empire? The contents of the message cause confusion in the palace. Altan Khan once again requests the emperor's permission to set up trading posts on the northern borders. But the sublime ruler has no intention of agreeing to the request of a barbarian. To regain control of an extremely delicate situation, the emperor summons his high officials. They decide to take refuge in courtly protocol. The court will inform Altan Khan that they have a number of reasons to doubt that his message is genuine. Number one, it is not in the script of the barbarians. Number two, the message did not reach the emperor by the appropriate means. The sublime ruler therefore demands that Altan Khan withdraw his forces at once, and that he make another formal request for trading relations via the garrison at Xuanfu. The court's tactics worked. Altan Khan withdrew from Beijing. His decision still puzzles historians today.
就安达而言，他来进攻长城沿线。
There is one possible, very interesting explanation for this. That Altan Khan really didn't want to conquer China. He really did only want to establish trade relations. Now, 400 years before, Genghis Khan had had a quite different goal. He wanted to take over all the land south of the Yellow River. He wanted to control the Middle Kingdom, and he succeeded.
Between 1550 and 1644, the stone dragon came to life. China's Great Wall was completed. And the wall became a monument to the closed world view of the Ming Empire. It enclosed their own universe and excluded everything that was foreign. To the north of Beijing, it curves majestically through the mountain ranges. It follows the natural line of the mountain peaks, reaching breathtaking heights before plunging into the deepest ravines. At its eastern end, in Shanhaiguan, it strides straight into the Yellow Sea. From this head of the dragon to the first earthen tower in the west, the Ming Wall is more than 6,000 kilometers long. On the steppes, a powerful enemy is gathering, 100 years after Altan Khan, the Manchu. At the eastern end of the wall at the dragon's head, an army of Manchu horsemen has gathered. Close by is the fortress of Shanhaiguan. Calligraphy decorating the east tower announces its proud name, the first pass under heaven. This fortress protects the plain between the mountains and the dragon's head at the edge of the Yellow Sea. In 1644, the first pass under heaven is the scene of a fateful decision that will shake the Middle Kingdom to its core. The commander of Shanhaiguan is General Wu, one of the last army commanders still loyal to the Ming dynasty. The advance guard of the Manchu are camped in plain sight, but they make no attempt to take the fortress. They're waiting. By May 1644, the situation in the empire is hopeless. Li Sicheng, the rebel leader, has taken control of the Forbidden City. The emperor is dead. But General Wu has refused to go over to the rebels. It may still be possible to throw them out of Beijing and save the dynasty. when General Wu receives news from Beijing. It's about the rebel leader Li Xicheng. Li Xicheng has taken General Wu's father hostage. He demands that the general swear allegiance to him as the new ruler of the Forbidden City, or his father will die. Then the ambassador hands General Wu a letter, supposedly from his father. The old man begs the general to obey the new ruler at once and so save his life. His obligations to his own father must override his loyalty to the Ming dynasty. And a gift from Li Xicheng should make his decision easier. How would the general decide? Did he have a choice at all? On May the 27th, 1644, at dawn, General Wu opens the gates of his fortress to the invading Manchu armies. Rather the Manchu ruling the empire than a peasant on the dragon throne. The Manchu expel the rebels from the Forbidden City, and they take power for themselves. They found a new dynasty that will rule the Middle Kingdom until the year 1911. They call themselves the Qing, the pure ones.